Did you notice this in Batman v Superman? During the battle with Superman and Batman, we see Batman appear eye to eye in several shots with Superman, but after Superman gets hit with kryptonite, Batman appears to be much bigger than him. Zack Snyder actually wanted Batman to be taller and a bit more imposing than Superman, to implement that Batman is more powerful than Superman when he is hit by kryptonite.
They taught me the world only makes sense if you force it to.
Did you notice this in Avengers Infinity War? After Peter, Tony, and Strange landed on Titan, the Guardians threw a grenade aiming towards them, but when we see this scene in slow motion, we'll realize that before the bomb comes off, Peter and Tony both activated their helmets as a precaution. Spider-Man done this because of his spidey sense, but it's quite fascinating to see how quickly Tony reacts to his surroundings.
Another single pop culture reference out of you for the rest of the trip, you understand?
I'm trying to say that
Did you notice this in Spider-Man Far From Home? When Peter goes to buy the Black Dahlia necklace for MJ, in this particular shot we can actually spot Quentin back in the background. Nobody actually noticed it until Jake Gyllenhaal himself posted about this Easter egg on Instagram.
Thank you.
Did you notice this in Iron Man 2? At the beginning of the film, we see Ivan Vanko create his first arc reactor with the help of his own intelligence, but when we get to see a montage of a few newspaper articles, in the last article we see a wording that says, written by Rob Down. This is a nod to Robert Downey Jr., and probably this is the only time his actual name has been mentioned inside a movie. Did you notice this in The Batman? At the beginning of the movie, before we get introduced to Batman, this guy in the Central Bank of Gotham stops for a moment as soon as he sees a police chopper. But once the chopper goes away, he notices the bat signal in the clouds, and that's when he drops his spray can, so a police chopper didn't stop him, but the bat signal did. Did you notice this in Zack Snyder's Justice League? When we get to see a vision of the Nightmare timeline, we see Superman crying with the dead body of Lois Lane on his arm, but when we notice in the background, we can see Robin's suit that we previously seen in Batman v Superman, so this confirms this event is taking place in the Batcave, and that's why Superman becomes evil in the Nightmare timeline because Darkseid blames Batman for the death of Lois Lane. Did you notice this in The Dark Knight? During the scene when the mayor was giving a speech to everyone, here they all was trying to find the Joker, because he said he will kill the mayor, but before the Joker attempts to shoot the mayor, here in this wide shot of the parade, we can easily spot the Joker and his accomplice can clearly be seen standing in the firing squad.
Remember that vigilance is the price of safety.
Did you notice this in Black Panther Wakanda Forever? At the beginning of the film, we can see that Shuri had long hair when T'Challa was still alive, but after a 1-year time jump, Shuri is seen with short hair because, in many cultures on the African continent, people do shave their heads as a part of the mourning process.
This corset is really uncomfortable, so could we all just wrap it up and go home?
Did you notice this in Thor Ragnarok? When we see Loki and Thor come to Earth to find Odin, Doctor Strange interrupts them and sends Loki somewhere else and gives Thor a card that contains his address, but here we think that the card comes out of nothing, which is not real at all. The card actually came from the portal that was opened by Doctor Strange.
So Earth has wizards now.
My name is Dr. Stephen Strange, and I have some questions for you.
Did you know that in Zack Snyder's Justice League, during the funeral of Wonder Woman in Victor's vision, when you pay attention to the left side of the screen, here we can see Darkseid looking down on the funeral, so he's clearly allowing the Amazons to feel the pain of losing one of their best. We can also notice the way Darkseid turns around, comes forward and stands there. This is the exact same VFX model of Darkseid that Snyder used to later in the climax again, but from a different angle.
We will use the old ways.
Did you notice this in Doctor Strange? When Stephen Strange begins to experiment with the Eye of Agamotto, he uses an apple to see how it works, but notice when Strange puts the apple aside, this apple is fresh as new, but the moment Wong and Mordo interrupts Strange, that made the apple go back to its previous form, which is half-eaten, indicating that once the time stone is interrupted, things will go back to the way it was before.
really should put the warnings before the spell.
Did you know that in Avengers Age of Ultron, when Tony Stark tries to take down Hulk when he's on his rampage, that if we look in the HUD display of the Hulkbuster, at one point we can see that Tony has activated a sedation on Hulk. It shows how Tony already had a precaution for Hulk's rage.